The usual meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. It's being held in the Don B. Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street in Harwich. It's Thursday, December 11th, 2025. And the first thing is to welcome guests and public comment. And something I want to explain to those in the room at this moment. When the subject matter that you're here for comes up, in the public comment section of this agenda, you can all speak whatever you need to speak. But after the applicant starts his presentation to present to the board, there's no other public discussion. The discussion is with the board. So I'll open it up to you folks. Public comment? Please identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Duncan Berry. I live at 37 Route 28 in West Harwich. I am the chair of the Harwich Planning Board, but I speak to you as a resident and neighbor and of the West Harwich Baptist Church. And I am holding up here a copy of a book that I would just take a quick poll. How many people on the board here, your commission, do you know of this book? No, seeing a lot of no's. Okay. This is called The Economics of Historic Preservation. It is written by a fellow named Donovan Ripkema, an economist at UPenn, who has won the National Lifetime Award, the Crown and Shield Award for the National Trust for Historic Preservation. In it, the third edition, he offers 100 arguments for why community preservation and architectural preservation and community growth and economic development go hand in hand. I've just chosen a couple of the items from this book, and I thought I'd make 10 quick points based on what Ripkema says. He offers full documentation and an annotated bibliography, by the way, showing how the return on investment from preservation and adaptive reuse over the last 50 years can impact economic growth and development in small towns and in cities. So I'd like to focus on, if you know me, I'm the historian guy. I'm on the Historical Society. I write a lot of stuff about history of Harwich. I always make a plea for the significance of history. Tonight, I'm not talking about history. I'm not talking about culture. I'm not talking about symbolism. I'm talking about money. The economics of preservation. And there's no sentiment involved in here. This, I think, what I'm trying to lay out here is what I think is a really sound economic argument. So Ripkema helped set up this National Trust's Main Street approach to economic development strategy that's been used in Sandwich, Falmouth, Nantucket, Boston, Charleston, South Carolina, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Galveston, Texas, and dozens of other towns. It has decades of grassroots, bottom-up, organic, local economic growth that's leveraged for each dollar invested. His results are that in a Main Street program, what we're looking at here, averages a 40-to-1 return on investment. So the ask tonight from Mr. Carey is about $660,000 times 40 is a $26 million multiplier effect over the next 2 decades. 26 million, that's 25% of our annual budget distributed. So that's just the general argument. The average national preservation ROI on GDP nationally is 1%. So that's the way they look at it, averaged all over the country. I couldn't get any GDP data on Harwich, but we are 5.8% of Barnstable County's GDP, which is calculated, which is $15.1 billion. That means that Harwich has roughly $880 million, and our town runs on 8% of that. So we're looking at an 8% of that whole chunk, and this guy is asking for 0.67% for a 40x return. I think this is total no-brainer. And it's a one-shot deal. And so it also fulfills your mission to a T. You're preserving something of cultural and historic significance, and you're seeding the viability and vitality of a moribund, virtually, dead village at this point that's life is being breathed back into it gradually. And he's been part of that too. We've watched that. I think everybody's read the paper. He's done a phenomenal job. He had something like 40 applicants in the first 24 hours for his new housing section. So so this kind of stuff is a calculation. We normally think of preservation as a cost. I'm looking at as a return. And as a return, there are other immediate benefits. First of all, you're going to see immediate job creation. And job growth for preservation work means more jobs than a typical new construction job. So that's a huge, kicker right there. The medium-term benefits include formation of new businesses, stimulation of private investment, increased property values, therefore tax revenues, compatible land use patterns, increased sales tax, reduction of deteriorated, unproductive, and low-revenue land surface usage, which is what we're seeing a lot in West Harwich, and an increase of direct local purchase. So these are all kind of knock-on effects that we'll see, let's say, 5 years out. The long-term thing is what I think is the most exciting, which is incremental property-by-property reinvestment, which is a much more realistic way to grow a stable village economy, not because of a single thing like this, but through the compounding impact of cognate projects over time. Other buildings that the kind of monkey see, monkey do activity. That looks great. Hey, I could repaint, or I should do this to my lawn, or this idea of a hedge over here looks terrific. So these are all kind of like the extension effects of what we have. Now, I don't know if you've all ever read Jane Jacobs. She's the author of one of, I think, modern library considers one in the top 100 pieces of American literature. It's called Death and Life of American Cities. It's a beautiful book, and she says that old buildings, historic buildings, are always and have always been the ideal location for startups, small businesses, and therefore they are a kind of infrastructural incubator for local job growth. Instead of being a drag, these are actually good ways for people with not a lot of cash to get in, to maneuver, to create value. create value. I think this is ultimately the true source of value for West Harwich, Captain's Row, and the vitality and viability of a financial ecosystem for the town as a whole on a year-round basis. By investing in choice landmark properties, the town will reap economic returns like no other piece in its portfolio, 40x, with generational benefits that will only become obvious as settlement patterns and economic activity takes off. So we can't even imagine some of the things that are going to happen, like what kind of building, let's say some of these buildings on Captain's Row won't make it as a private dwelling. They may make it as a gallery or as an office or coffee shop or something. Those are all going to be receipt-generating enterprises. So I believe that this church is, as a whole, believe it or not for the town, an ownable and unique resource. It is a branded landmark. Now, if you all have followed what's going on in the Historic Commission, Jane Sugden's old mill house was up for sale. You've all seen it down at the end of the Herring River. That's another kind of iconic property. That particular building is the most photographed property in Barnstable County. Most photographed house in Barnstable County. 400 different postcards. 4 book covers on national bestsellers. And countless photos, prints, and paintings. Buildings in our town are part of our brand because they are unique. Other towns can emulate what we do with our water lines or with our industrial parks or the design of our affordable housing, but nobody can own or even borrow the aura that's being built in to some of our amazing historic properties. And I would say, first among those of the rest that are an opportunity for this year and for coming years is this Baptist church. And I've written at great length about the historical significance. So as a whole, I think it makes economic sense, And I also think that culturally, this is going to be an attraction for people who are seeking quality in our town. This is a unique quality product, a unique, byproduct. It's outlived its initial use. Let's keep it. It's a monument that marks a place and a time, an intersection, and a whole mile, a stretch of road that has been, for the last 400 years, central to the town of Harwich. Thank you for your interest.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Patty Twerk. I live at 80 Lincoln Road in West Harwich. I've been there since 2008. I work at a historic property, well, I volunteer at a historic property in West Harwich. And in the interest of time, I'm going to read my brief statement, just so that others can speak as well. I am so grateful that a second opportunity opened for the disposition of the West Harwich Baptist Church, and that John Carey has seized the opportunity to provide the village of West Harwich and the entire town with a gorgeous restoration of this 1841 church. John's restoration and renovation of the West Harwich Schoolhouse is a model of careful planning and reuse of a historical structure. That this restoration will provide space for numerous community events is a boon to the entire town. I take it as a sign of John's respect for this treasured building that he has placed 2 live holiday wreaths on each of the front doors. I can't say enough about the work that I've seen thus far. I toured the building last week. There is such potential there for so many different events to be held within this community of Harwich. I do hope that you will provide the funds requested in his application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
If you could just give me your, print it so I can read it. My name is Judith Ward. I grew up on Belmont Road. My dad was the minister of First Baptist from 1956 to 1970. I had an opportunity to do one of the tours and to see the potential that is there for so many things in this church. I said I have mostly good memories, some not so good, as being a preacher's kid, being like in a fishbowl growing up. But I remember church suppers down in the hall downstairs. And one of my thoughts is that if we can invest in this building and invest in this town, we could get to know each other better and have community suppers there. I know they've talked about doing cultural things, maybe some church people on Sunday mornings, but it is absolutely, it's still beautiful, in spite of the fact that it needs so much work, but there's just so much beauty and so much history there that I definitely think it's worth the investment. And I have enjoyed and gotten caught up in the excitement. People heard demolition and people stood up and said, wait a minute, I wasn't involved in a lot of things, a lot of town things, and I've been coming to meetings and I've been speaking up, and I thought, how am I going to live with watching that get torn down? And I've had tears of joy knowing that it's not going to be, and that I can't wait to see what it's going to become. Definitely worth the investment.
Thank you. Next. That's it. No one else wants to speak. Okay. Moving on. Can I have approval of the minutes from the Community Preservation Committee meeting, December 4th, 2025? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the 24th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set, Jan? Okay, new business. So, 2025, 2026 project presentation. Amy, you have the floor. This is for diagnostic assessment of Hinckley's Pond for $138,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Amy Usowski, the Conservation Administrator for the town of Harwich. I'm here tonight to regale you of tales of water quality woes. Maybe not quite as interesting to some as historic preservation. However, stuff like this is a big part of my world in the world of conservation, as well as Stephanie Ridenauer, our Natural Resource Director, who's assisted with this application, who could not be here this evening. So I'll try to be as brief as I can, but we are seeking funding in the amount of $138,000. It's supposed to be over, right? Caleb? There we go. Okay. So our request is for $138,000. It's with a 10% contingency included for a diagnostic study of water and sediment in Hinckley Pond. I think I actually jumped a slide. Yes, I did. Sorry about that. So really briefly, for Hinckley Pond is a glacial pond at 174.8 acres in size and at max 28 feet in depth, 13 feet on average. So it's actually a pretty shallow pond in comparison to our other big ponds in the town of Harwich. It also doesn't stratify fully like other towns do, meaning in the late fall, early winter, when most ponds, the cold water from the bottom flips with the warm water on the top, that this pond mixes a little bit, and that plays a part in a few of the issues that we have here. Hinckley has had a history of harmful algal blooms over the past 2 decades, and the study that we had done, I believe the last actual study pre-treatment was in 2012. No, yes, 2012. And it came up with that about 30% of phosphorus was needed to be removed from the watershed to help prevent these harmful algal blooms, cyanobacteria blooms. CPA funding was sought on a couple of occasions by a previous Natural Resource Director, Heinz Proft, and was successful in getting funding at town meeting in 2018 and implementation of an alum treatment in 2019. Alum is a compound meant to bind phosphorus. Phosphorus is the culprit in freshwater quality issues as opposed to nitrogen in saltwater quality. So we did the treatment in September of 2019. Follow-up monitoring yielded mixed results. We did 2 years of follow-up monitoring, and I'm put my conservation agent hat on here, and the Conservation Commission requires more monitoring to see longer-term effects of that. However, funding was not available at the time. Fast forward, we are asking for some additional funding, not to necessarily continue with monitoring. This is a whole new study because what we've seen since 2019 is degradation in that water quality that shouldn't probably have happened. We saw of our first, this is not something to be proud of, but we had the state's first December, January, February algae bloom last year in Hinckley Pond, from the end of December until at least the 1st of January. If you remember last year, we actually had ice on our ponds. I have samples and photos of the cyanobacteria bloom being underneath the ice in Hinkley Pond. Something we didn't think was really possible, as a lot of times these things are somewhat temperature dependent. So it really indicates, and it was a long bloom, at least probably 2 months, and it really led us to say, what's really going on here in Hinckley? And because we haven't gotten any data since 2021, except for sampling data from our PALS volunteers, but not a complete study, we don't really know what's going on here. And it's important for a variety of reasons. I don't want to go there just yet. Hinckley is both a natural and recreational asset to the town of Harwich. It is a part of the Herring River herring run, one of many ponds where herring come up to spawn. We have one of the biggest herring runs, sometimes the biggest herring run in the state of Massachusetts. And clean, clear water is imperative for them to be able to spawn. Also for a variety of other wildlife. But it's also important to our quality of life as an asset to the town of Harwich. Now we have a beautiful, thanks to the Harwich Conservation Trust and the Headwaters Eco Restoration, Hinkley Pond Headwaters Eco Restoration Area. We have increased access to Hinkley Pond. But unfortunately, when we have cyanobacteria blooms, we really don't want to be inviting people, their pets, or anybody else into those waters. So this ask is really just a request to do a very, very in-depth study, because there's not one sole cause, most likely, to this issue. I'm going to go a little bit into how this meets with other plans for the town. So for the local comprehensive plan, it lists the following as goals. Water resources, to maintain a more sustainable supply of high-quality drinking water and to protect, preserve, or restore the ecological integrity of Harwich's freshwater and marine surface waters for present and future community needs. Wetland resources, to protect, preserve, or restore the quality and natural values of both freshwater and saltwater wetlands and their buffers to support important functions they provide to the environment and to the community. It suggests completion of pond profiles and expansion of monitoring. And then the open space and recreation plan for the town has a very specific goal to enhance inland and coastal wetlands, which is goal number 6. This study will help us identify those excess sources of eutrophication to Hinkley Pond, which is an inland wetland. Newly formed is the Cape Cod Freshwater Initiative through the Cape Cod Commission, in which the town of Harwich has been an active participant in creation of their atlas. They have identified 35 potential strategies to improve freshwater pond health. We don't know what of those strategies we might be able to take advantage of yet, because we don't know the exact nutrient inputs of the pond, especially after we've already done an alum treatment, which was supposed to help more than it has. So that leads me to believe that there's some other things going on here. Let's see. I think I went through that, yep. Why? Sorry, I tend to get ahead of myself a little bit, but it is cyanobacteria blooms, or harmful algal blooms, HABs, are harmful to environmental and public health. Harmful algae blooms, basically excess plant growth. It depletes the water body of oxygen, which everything needs to survive. We needed to do a study, and I don't want to have to be saying this because we already have looked at Hinkley Pond, to understand why they're still occurring, especially so soon after treatment. Treatment is intended to last at least 15 years. Long Pond was treated before I started here, and I started in the town of Harwich 14 years ago. So it probably took place closer to 18 years ago, and we are still seeing excellent results in the water quality of Long Pond, sorry. Hinkley Pond, we're 6 years out at this point. We need the study in order to guide remediation alternatives. Otherwise, it's just kind of shooting shots in the dark. We want to make sure it works. This application to you was supported by many town groups, such as the Harwich Conservation Commission, Waterways Committee, Recreation Commission, Harwich Ponds Coalition, and the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. And I think I wanted to do, so what exactly this would cover, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to background just a little bit. What would this money cover? This money would cover up to 8 sediment cores to measure contribution of phosphorus and nitrogen to water column concentrations. These would be taken both in shallow and deep depths during different times of the year to take into account different pond conditions during those times of the year. It would do stream flow measurements to measure water and nutrients such as total phosphorus, ammonium, nitrate, nitrite, dissolved oxygen, etc. Entering and leaving Hinkley Pond, there are streams entering and leaving Hinkley Pond as part of the herring run. And they're going to do monthly stream flow readings and accompanying water quality samples. Survey the bathymetry, rooted aquatic plants, and freshwater mussels. What's going on in the bottom in the sediment with freshwater mussels is really key to understanding pond health. A lot of ponds that have no oxygen really towards the bottom, you're not going to find freshwater mussels anymore. Water quality data collected monthly. Phytoplankton samples, phytoplankton feeds on algae to see what concentrations we have of that. And watershed assessments of surrounding land use. Surrounding land use has changed a little bit since we last did this in 2019. The bogs that are on either sides of Hinkley Pond are no longer active. So that could play a part in things too. Deliverables would be a pond baseline assessment and a watershed management plan. They would do a project reports, 2 meetings, and a presentation. I think for the amount of work that they're doing, this is, I should say, from the Massachusetts School of Marine Science and Technology at UMass Dartmouth. And we did put this request for comment and quotes out to 4 different organizations. And this is the one we received. And it's actually, I think it's a very, very good one. And with that, I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Amy. All right, I'm going to open it up to the board. Mary?
Amy, my just question from your last comment, does that mean you've completed the procurement process and the 130, no, you still have to go out and do your, either an RFQ or?
From what I understand, because this is a study,
Yeah.
that some of the procurement requirements are not as stringent.
Because it's engineering work?
Correct.
Okay. So,
But I do have it documented. I did start the process in terms of asking first what I needed to do. And even though necessarily we could just use best management or best practices, we still wanted to try at least to get multiple quotes.
so when would you expect the work to start? If it's approved at town meeting?
If it's approved, I would want to work with the, if it ends up being SMAS,
Yeah.
work with them to refine this, because when they put this together, I told them it had to get approved at May town meeting, but they set a start date of April. Doesn't make quite sense.
Sure.
So I would envision late summer, early fall that's when the highest pond temperatures are, is late summer, is starting in late summer, hopefully. That's just my thought. I would run it through them. And then for the full, annual study and reporting, this would likely be a 1.5 to 2 year project.
Thank you.
Is that-
All set, thank you.
John?
Thank you, Amy. I have no question.
Thanks, John. Marcy?
I just had a question. When you had said that in 2021, it wasn't a complete study, so 4 years after that, there wasn't any studies done after 2021?
Unfortunately, funding ran out in 2021, and we for multiple reasons, but mainly we need to find out what's kind of happening with the pond, especially after that bloom last winter. But the Conservation Commission, which I staff, required many more years of monitoring, which doesn't include all of this. But in order to get back on track with that as well, this is a step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Well said, Marcy.
Yep, thank you.
All right,
Well, thank you, Amy. As always, you give a great presentation, and I'm constantly learning on ponds and our waterways in Harwich. Anyways, the request is for a study, obviously.
Correct.
And is that going to be conclusive? Is it, well, there's nothing definitive. I mean, what's the success rate that you're going to find the answer? I guess I'm not thinking, that's what I'm trying to think.
I think with this particular outfit, we're going to get some really good data and very good recommendations. This is what they do. So they are proposing not to just do a report, but to create a watershed management plan for us. Of course, the town would have to decide what, if any, actions in that plan that they're going to undertake. But this will be a scientifically based document. I think what was one of the things lacking in the past is sediment, more sediment cores, and I think that's going to look at the historic phosphorus a little bit more that's in the system. So I can't say for certain, Art, but I think they're gonna give us a watershed management plan with the issues and potential ways to remediate them.
So they're going to tell us what the problem is, and they're going to give us a plan to.
They're gonna make suggestions on how to remediate that.
Thank you. Great.
well said, Kathy.
Yeah, so you mentioned increased access because of the eco restoration project. And what do you mean by increased access? Are you really just saying viewing access? Because it's not really, they're
There's
not
a
really.
ramp. There's an ADA accessible ramp that now goes down from the bike trail to this little beachy area on Hinkley Pond.
For viewing,
Or bathing, or fishing.
okay?
Yep.
All right, I'm just
Yep,
trying to get the lay
understood.
there, okay?
Other recreational activities, if you could bring a kayak there, if you can carry it down the bike trail.
Okay. So in your application, you used the words, "we must conduct this," and it was for safety. So what happens if the funding isn't provided? How are we gonna, figure out how this must be done?
I think it wasn't trying to be like, oh, an ultimatum, this has to be funded here. I think what it means is, in one way, shape, or form, we have to do a study like this. Whether that's funding through CPC, funding with grants that we are looking into, new grant rounds coming for various things in the spring. But those are no guarantees necessarily. We're gonna have to find a way to get this done, because if we're gonna likely, and based on my experience, we're gonna continue to see degradation. And we're gonna continue to have blooms where the public and the people who have property around the pond are not gonna be able to use the pond. And potentially could harm our other organisms that depend on the pond.
Okay, and aside from the alum treatment, what was done in terms of mitigation in the last 6 years since the alum treatment was done?
To my knowledge, nothing.
Okay, because we talked about that extensively. Was there going to be any kind of fertilizer
Sorry.
restrictions, and was there going to be any, you know what I mean? Like, we talked about that at great length.
I thought you meant like in-pond activities, like, so the town has endeavored with the Health Department and the Conservation Commission to do more public education for homeowner usage and contractor. in terms of what you put and what you do on your property and how it impacts pond health. We know that, septic is the main culprit for a lot of these nutrients, but 15 to 20% of water quality degradation comes from our practices on our property. So we've had 3 workshops in conservation to teach folks both in the industry and just lay folks in the town on potential better practices. We've been working with the Cape Cod Freshwater Initiative as well. We plan on doing further education and potentially working together with the health department going forward on potentially better regulations for the town.
And a good percent, or, at least comparable to that, is from stormwater runoff, right? So
Correct.
what are we doing about that as a town?
Correct. So actually, they estimate, and I went back to the Ken Wagner study, which was like the 2012 study, and he had said that compared to a lot of other ponds in Harwich, this has a large percentage of stormwater runoff contributing. So evaluating our stormwater, which is part of our hazard mitigation plan objectives right now, is evaluating our stormwater infrastructure in town and seeing where things need to get upgraded to accommodate for these bigger, stronger rain events too. So it does all tie together.
Because, we invested, $550,000 in the alum treatment back in 2019. And in 2022, the report that was given to us from Heinz Prof was that things were going along fine. And that is when, a little bit after that, the majority of the balance was rescinded. Like, we didn't need any more monitoring.
That was something that he's no longer with the town. Probably should not have been done, considering the Conservation Commission had conditions for additional 8 years of monitoring that should have been done under the permit. I would just say that I don't think 2 years is enough time to really get a feel for how the pond is evolving after a treatment.
Okay, and one thing you talked about a couple times in the application was that we need to achieve regulatory compliance. Do you think that is something it's the taxpayer's responsibility?
I think it's the town's responsibility. It's our permit. The Conservation Commission issued the permit to the town of Harwich. Again, this application is not to get us back into compliance, because this wouldn't achieve that anyways. It's just really a starting block. But, no, something that the town, meaning not necessarily the citizens of the town, should be accountable for.
Okay, I'm all set.
All set, Ken. Emily?
I'm all set. My question, I have a similar question to Marianne that I was going to ask about the compliance component, so all set.
Okay, thank you. The only hesitation I have is, we can't fund maintenance. And when we're talking about long-term alum treatments, that would be maintenance, because we did the initial work years ago. But this is a study.
This is
So- I see the difference.
This is a study, and I would feel comfortable myself making the argument that this is kind of it's the same issue, but coming to light in anew. It couldn't have been foreseen. I don't view it as maintenance, because of all the additional parameters that we're gonna be looking at as well.
Okay, right.
But obviously, that's up to you.
Any other board members? Any more questions? Hearing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Have a good night. Jan, do you want me to sign this too, or am I good?
No, you're cool. Could I have that PowerPoint presentation now?
I'll email it to you. I just
Yep,
finished.
that's
It's
what I
really
want.
just talking points, which I didn't really follow. So,
That's okay.
But I'll put it as part of the minutes, thank you.
Okay, next, HP 1, exterior renovation of the West Harwich Church, Baptist Church project. 4. The request is $667,500.
And I'll take all your extras, eh? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Don.
Here are the bids we received as well for the project, to make sure we have every dollar accounted for. Two, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Graham.
And would you mind if we started with the, Caleb, would you mind if we start with the YouTube video? I emailed you that separate link, if that works better for you.
Okay, would you please identify yourself for the board?
Good evening, my name's John Carey. My wife and I are the new owners of the West Harwich Baptist Church as of November, and we are here to discuss partnering with CPC on funding the restoration of a critical asset. Thank you. I want to start off by thanking the Doyles for the wreaths. That was not me, as you know, and we spent quite a bit of money getting the church wired and cleaned up. And so that's why we are here asking for more money. So the wreaths were the Doyles, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, sorry.
Yeah. First, I want to thank everyone that attended the tonight. We had 170 people attend the 2 open houses. I was at 2 meetings before this, and I had 6 other people asked to tour the building. And then I want to thank, I think there was a dozen or so organizations that wrote letters, which takes a lot of time, and they were very thoughtful letters, and they submitted them to you guys, so I hope you guys saw those. So to start off, good evening. We are here tonight for one reason, necessity. Last September, October, There was a demolition permit pulled to demolish this building. We were hoping it'd be restored, and my wife and I looked around, and we hoped somebody would do it, and no one would take it on, and we couldn't live with ourselves doing nothing. We're capable, we're able to take it on, and we can do it right. So it took us about almost a full year now of battling and maneuvering and persuading and negotiating to get the building off the demolition with the wrecking ball and acquire the building. And now we're here tonight looking to partner with CPC and the town of Harwich to preserve it and restore it and reopen it. Like so many New England towns, Harwich is losing a little bit more of its character every year. At some point, we as a community need to decide which pieces of our identity are worth preserving, which parts of our story are worth fighting for. In America, we don't build castles. Our cathedrals are our churches. These proud buildings were built to anchor our communities, to represent who we are and what we value. And tonight, we're here to consider whether we, as a community, will preserve one of the most significant of them all. This parish was established in 1759, which is 19 years before the Declaration of Independence. The structure still standing today was built by the veterans of the American Revolution. It was later modernized using the wealth brought home from the sea captains of Captain's Row. They later added an entire first floor, 11 extraordinary French stained glass windows, an E. Howard tower clock, and a Paul Revere bell. There's memorials to 4 gentlemen and many more who gave their lives for this town on the front steps. These improvements go on and on with this building. Generations of Harwich families rest in the shadows of its steeple. This church embodies the very best of Harwich, its history, its craftsmanship, the character. This building is Harwich, and it represents the town well. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts recognizes this, and they've already recognized the significance of Captain's Row, committing $17 million to the refurbishment and improvements along Route 28 of Captain's Row. As a community, I think it's our turn to ensure that the crown jewel of Captain's Row and this historic district is preserved and preserved well. So that's why we're all here tonight. It's why, like I said, 170 people over 2 days came out to see the building, and it's why we hope that this committee will recognize the importance of preserving an irreplaceable town asset. We'll move to the slides next. So the West Harwich Baptist Church, and this is also a bigger conversation about the preservation of Harwich and all of Cape Cod. I am seeing it, and we all are, everywhere we go. So a trip down memory lane, the Harwich Exchange Building. I hear about this building more than any building, maybe in Massachusetts. It was built in 1888. It was a very significant town center building. You can look at the scale of it. It was the center of Harwich, the heart of Harwich. And then because they didn't want to fund preservation, it's gone. And now there's nothing here today. It's an intersection and a park. Moving down into West Harwich, the Belmont Hotel, one of the most impressive resorts and hotels in Massachusetts, maybe America at the time. In the 1930s, it was just beautiful. And because they didn't want to fund or preserve buildings, it was sold privately, and it was redeveloped as private condos, and there's cinder block, and there's no access and no public good. So the takeaway for the town, for these 2 examples, is without preservation, the public ends up as the loser. So now here's the property we're here to talk about, the West Harwich Baptist Church. Here's the video, which I didn't do very well with. Okay, and then the first pictures after they added the first floor in 1871, then the picture as it rests today, and then here's how it could be tomorrow as the West Harwich Meeting House, reimagined as an asset to the community. The development team, lean and mean, because we have to be cost effective with our funds, and so we don't have a big team like the Penroses of the world. So what does the town get? That's important. It's a significant amount of money, and that is not lost on us. So number 1 is the refurbishment of a critical historic asset and a large step forward in the revitalization of West Harwich, a village that has just been forgotten for 40 years. The second is historic preservation restriction, which will be forever. So people ask what happens if I die or, we leave. The building will be there forever. It cannot be torn down. The select board will hold the restriction, and unless they decide to give it up, it will be there and you will not be able to remove it. And also, Piper and I have decided to donate land for a sewer pump station. We've been working with the water department to move forward with that. So the town will not be paying us for that. We'll pick a good location for it, and that'll be kind of part of this deal. The third thing will be historic restored public asset and commerce in West Harwich for the first time in a long time. You go through West Harwich and there is not a lot of active commerce. The busiest thing we see is the Domino's. The fourth thing is it'll be added back to the tax roll for the first time since before there were tax rolls, but it has never paid property tax, and as of last month, we are now paying property tax. The fifth thing is moving forward, this building will be preserved, maintained, and operated as a private entity. There will be no more requests, there'll be no more handout for public money. You will not be paying utilities, maintenance, anything. And that is the main differentiating factor between us and the South Harwich Meeting House. Where they have similar names, they'll be different in structure. Talk about financial picture and timeline. My wife and I have committed $403,000 to the acquisition of the building. We completed that in November of this year. Phase one, which we're about 70% of the way through with, was $157,000. And then we are here tonight to discuss with you guys about phase two funding. If funded, we'd start this as soon as the summer the birds fly away, and we'll have it all cleaned up before they return. And then phase three is a $502,000 phase, and it is contingent, or it relies on spending of phase one and phase two. Whatever those two phases combined amount to, we then apply for 40% of that for historic tax credits through the federal government and the state government. On top of that, we've already started working with the Mass Development Underutilized Property Program grant, which is the same grant we received for the schoolhouse, and they've already acknowledged that this is even more significant than the schoolhouse, and $200,000 plus would be a very reasonable ask. Both applications would be submitted in the spring of next year. Phase two, I'm happy to get into the every dollar, but our negotiation with you guys is whatever the town decides to commit, every dollar that would be spent on that building. There is no, Piper and I are donating our time, there's no fees, there's no development fees, there's no salaries, none of that. Every dollar gets put into the building. And we can go line by line. I have bids for all of this stuff. We have multiple bids for the big items. How we will get it done. This is a World War I plaque of two berries, relatives of somebody behind me, and then a few other, an Ellis and a Chase, that died in France. So back when we were discussing demolishing the building, it just didn't make any sense to us. So how we will get it done. The best example for us is to look just north of the property at the historic West Harwich Schoolhouse, which Piper and I renovated last year. Here it is when it was first built, beautiful trim package. Here it is in the 1950s as the town started their ownership of it. And then here it is when the town decided to sell it. Here is when we started construction. We lifted up, put a new foundation under it. This is not something we need to do for the church. And actually, we peeled off the siding, which is going to be similar. The same aluminum guy put all the siding on all the buildings in West Harwich. So under the aluminum is, cedar shingles here. So we're going to take it all off. There's the original sheathing. We're going to re-nail all that. Then we add sheathing on top of it to make it even stronger. All new historic windows, a exact match historic trim package. When we take stuff off, we measure it, we photograph it, and we duplicate it. That is how we make our buildings look good, because they did it better then than anyone can do it now. Here's the cement board, hardy plank going back up. It's a better product than any pine product they're putting out today. It's unfortunate, but our quality of wood is so bad today that if you try to put a pine product on, the paint will be flaking, and you'll have a maintenance disaster within 10 years. The hardy plank is stable and holds paint much better, and it looks just as good. And then this is when we finished in May. 10 apartments, and people love them. We've had no complaints. I've had neighbors who opposed it and sued me come over to the property and apologize and thank us for what we did in West Harwich. So talking about the slightly larger building, it's about 3 times bigger, the West Harwich Baptist Church. We will approach this project in the exact same way. There's aluminum with cedar plank underneath. All of it comes off, we measure it, and we'll replicate every single bit of it. The same corners, the same eaves, the same soffits. New roof, all new trim, all new siding, the stained glass windows stay, and the lower cheap vinyls come out and we put pillars back in. Here's what it looks like on the east side. You can see some of the original cedar underneath it. All that stuff comes off, and it all goes back on new. The clock tower, those are the original faces. Each one will be sanded down, repainted. The gold leaf will be reapplied. It'll probably be a paint at this point. And then the clock will be refurbished by a clock person, and it will be clicking, ticking, talking, as so everyone can see. How will we get it done? That was the wrong slide. It should have said something else. No, it should have said, what will you get when it's done? First and foremost, it's going to remain a church on Sunday service. We've already signed a 10-year lease with the West Harwich Baptist Church. It's been a church for 267 years, and there's no reason to stop that. It's important to the community, and we can rebuild it better than it was when it closed. And then people question about, what's the use once it's finished. Our vision right now is a mix between the Chatham Orpheum and then the Levitt Theater up in Algonquin, Maine. These are both icons of the town. It's places people want to go. It's a way to experience the building as it was designed. An event space, a venue, a cultural center. Our calendar will look more like the Levitt than maybe the South Harwich Meeting House, where it has more monthly events. We'll have more daily, high-frequency cultural hub programming than maybe some of these other venues nearby. So in closing, the town of Harwich showed what was possible when they supported our schoolhouse project. We always preach, instead of partnering with these big national developers, work with people who are local, who are accountable. If somebody has a problem, everyone has my phone number, they can call me, we can resolve stuff. When you're accountable, you do things the right way in these towns. The results wasn't just 10 apartments. It's preserving history. It was creating housing for people that live and work in our town, and it's strengthening the community. And we hope that you'll want to do it again with us. Thank you.
All set, thank you.
Very impressive, and I really enjoyed going on the tour. It's nice to have a visual. You have everything laid out. I don't have any questions. I just find it very impressive.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming too.
Kathy?
So you've established a nonprofit,
Yes.
okay, and if you could explain to us, what's the purpose of the nonprofit? Are you doing the nonprofit just to make it more palatable, for CPC funding? Like, how's this going to work?
When we first submitted, we interact with the community all day long. As many people know, I attend most of the town meetings. I go to a lot of the housing stuff. We have tours, people coming by the property quite a bit. And the only real criticism we had was, should the town be giving money to a private individual? I would question that. I don't see how it's any different than giving it to a developer like a Penrose or somebody. And I think that local individuals are more accountable than a large corporate entity. But people voiced that problem, and I talked to a couple people I respect in town, and they said, why don't we move it into a nonprofit? And I think that way we'll avoid quite a bit of taxes. And like I said, every dollar committed by the town can go into the property if it's a nonprofit, as opposed to a private entity having to pay a capital gains. So that was the thinking, and if you guys are good with it, I changed my application kind of formally tonight through Dan, through an email, and we started a nonprofit called the Friends of Harwich, and its mission will be preservation of important historic properties. And I think we'll have success with this one, and I think we'll have opportunities to fight other important fights in the town of Harwich. We've also partnered with Protect Our Past, and they're going to be our custodial fund while we go through the IRS process, but we are filed and all that stuff. And before we receive funds, I believe we'll be all cleared, so we won't need them, but we're prepared for that as well.
But the nonprofit is not going to own the building, correct?
There'll be a tenant.
There'll be
Yep.
a tenant?
Yep.
Okay, so the ownership is you and your wife?
The ownership had to be us because we can't borrow money to buy an asset through a nonprofit that doesn't have any assets. So Piper and I had to put our own neck on the line to make this acquisition, make this deal. And if we didn't, the previous person was not going to walk away from this deal. They There was some negotiation involved, and the building was going to be demolished in January. So it was the only path we could see forward with this opportunity.
Okay, but since the town's not gonna have any ownership, let's say, so I guess part of the question is moving forward, the town makes an investment of $667,000, and either the nonprofit folds for a variety of reasons, or you fold for a variety of reasons, you know, what happens then? What happens to the town's investment of
Yeah.
$667,000?
It's a great question. And the historic preservation restriction we're going to put on it would protect the building through any type of demolition, refurbishment. It would basically be the same as me having to go to Mary for any of my buildings over 100 years old. They would be in power and they could reject us. And they would not, so if a future owner tried to do something, they would not be able to. They wouldn't be able to pull permits to do it.
Okay. Right. In looking at your budget, like, one thing just stood out, like, just the painting,
Yep.
okay? This town funded $750,000 to fund the Brooks Library
Yeah.
for painting,
Mhm.
okay?
Half of it.
What?
We didn't do it completely. That money
Well,
went to
Half the
half
building,
the
whatever.
project.
But I mean, even if this building is half the size of that, okay, and this was quite a number of years ago, that's like $370,000. So I think the painting budget item is pretty low. So how are you gonna get all this done if the costs come in way more than $667,000?
Yep, good question. So the beauty of not doing things through government is I can do things significantly more cost-effective than any government entity ever could. Our prices have to be competitive. I've spoken to my painters, we have square footage numbers, and we have confirmation we can do it for this amount. But we couldn't come to you with $1 million request or even 800. We came as lean as possible, and we'll guarantee any cost above this. We have a $25,000 contingency. Anything beyond that, we're gonna cover ourselves.
Okay. And my other thought was about sort of the sustainability of a community center per se, given that we have 204 Sisson Road, which is a cultural arts center. We do have the South Harwich Meeting House, which is sort of a cultural center. And then, you know, you're proposing this as another cultural center. I mean, I did speak with someone today who works very closely with the programming at the South Harwich Community Center, and asking them if they felt that this was sort of direct competition, and how would that, you know, work in terms of, you know, would there be enough? And they weren't really sure. They didn't have enough information to have an answer for that. But, you know, they operate on a pretty lean budget.
Town-funded budget?
No, they're completely
They're self-sufficient?
self-sufficient, yeah.
Okay.
They received, like, I don't know, somewhere around $450,000 to $500,000 in CPA funding over a period of years to complete a lot of the projects, and the rest of theirs was private fundraising.
Yep.
And now they're self-sustaining, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And so, you know, do we need another cultural arts center?
Mhm.
And if that isn't self-sustaining, then what? Then what do we see as a use for this building moving down the road if the town invests this much money in it?
Yeah. And the request tonight is for the town to invest in the historic preservation of the building, and that is what they'll get. And when everyone drives by, it'll be a beautiful building. The interior, filling it and keeping it as a venue. I've had so many people reach out to rent the space. I've had dance studios, I've had theaters, I've had orchestras. There's so much demand for this, and I don't know why they're not going to these other venues, but I think it's got a lot to do with the character of the building. And so while I agree maybe it's a challenging opportunity or daunting, we embrace the challenge, and I don't see any problem based on correspondence I've had with people on filling it and keeping it busy. And I think people are excited for it.
Okay, that's it, for me, right now.
Well said.
Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
Emily?
Thank you again for, I'll echo what Marcy said, it was really appreciated going through and getting the tour, really impressive, and it was very educational for me. I think similar questions to Kathy around kind of the ongoing kind of sustainability of this.
Mhm.
So in terms of these, if for some reason the endeavor for the community center doesn't work, are there going to be additional, like to upkeep this in that, in that capacity? Are there gonna be additional things that need to be done in 5 years, 10 years? Or is this kind of, does this do it for
Yeah.
longevity in terms of the town's investment?
So good question. So the main thing is any product we're gonna put on this is gonna be a long-term product, which is why we'd stay away from a pine clapboard or something like that. The roof is a 30-year roof. The AZEK siding is much longer than any of us will be here. And then the final thing will be the hardy plank cement clapboard, which is a 50-year product. The main thing we'll be looking at is in probably 20 to 25 years, another coat of paint, a maintenance coat on the clapboards and probably the AZEK to keep everything looking fresh. And our budget for viability for the business puts plenty of money away every year, so we're ready to deal with this. And Piper and I didn't invest in this property to fail. You know, we understand that there's challenges involved running businesses, but again, we embrace the challenge, and any money invested by the town will be protected, and the building will look great for a long, long time. Yeah.
Well said. John?
I think most of my questions were answered by Kathy's questions. I mean, I did have questions about ownership and access, I guess. And so I'm still a little unclear to me how the community center idea works. And you clearly have a challenge running a sustainable business, as has been demonstrated by the questions. And I guess my only question is about how you're going to fill that. I mean, you just said you've had plenty of inquiries, but you characterized the usage as something kind of like the Chatham Orpheum, except daily entertainments. So I wonder if you could just clarify what that means.
Yeah, sure.
And are you going to have like different like musical entertainments in there every night? And I guess just related to that question is just a question of control of access. If the community feels like the town is supporting this as a community center, and it turns out that the business, in order to make the thing survive, it's more oriented towards filling the place every night. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how you're going to manage that trade-off.
Just for clarification, I would say that the town is investing in the preservation of the exterior of the structure. Whether we restore the exterior of the structure or not, we are still going to operate a business inside of that property. Again, we invested enough money that we have to do something with it regardless. So what we're here to discuss is whether we want the exterior of the building to be a proud Harwich building as you enter Harwich, or if we want it to kind of stay, unfortunately, how it is. And
I
so,
want to stop you for 1 second.
yes,
The application has nothing to do with the business model.
correct. Yeah, yeah. We are here to discuss historic preservation. In terms of longevity, though, of the business, our business plan basically projects over year one 50 events a year, which would be a speaker or a lecturer, which is a weekly event. We've committed to the West Harwich Baptist Church Sundays, so that will take that off the plate. Our goal is for 35 small venue uses with a $250 fee, which would be if we all wanted to meet in there and have some type of Christmas party. And then we discuss private events, which would be a birthday party, wedding, or something like that, 10 of those. So when we say daily, that's probably excessive, but it's certainly weekly. So maybe there's 2 events there a week, and then there's people meeting there, like religious groups or whatever. We offered a lease to the Baptist Church for $1 for the year, so that shows our commitment to the community. We're not going to be nickel and diming people. If somebody wants to get in there, like a nonprofit dance, they're going to be able to use the building. We understand our place in the community, and we want to be a good partner.
Thank you, Dave.
All set, John, thank you. Eric?
Hi, John.
Best for last.
So from a practical standpoint, I'm happy to report that Historic did vote to support the use of CPC funds to preserve the exterior of the building. I would add the caveat to that for you and for others listening that obviously before work gets started, it's a building, you will still need to come he'll still need to come before historic for a notice of intent, for demolition delay, for all of that, just to dot the i's and cross the t's, as far as materials and all of that is said and done. I will also say, as the former planning board member on this board, and now Emily is the planning board member, obviously, whatever business makes a go of it in that building will probably need to deal with site plan review before planning for parking and all of those other various and sundry things. So I think today it's important to just focus on the fact that this is a historic application that's seeking historic funds to restore and preserve the outer shell of the building. The only thing that I had questions on was looking at your phase 2 bids.
Yes.
These don't look like they're encompassing everything that you have in the $667,000.
It's the substantial stuff.
Okay.
We have a full-time job, so it's only so many
Understood.
hours I can spend on
Understood.
this.
And again, your expectation is that with the quotes that you have already, that the 667 would be sufficient to
Yeah.
strip down, rewrap,
Yep.
hardy plank, paint.
Yep. Yeah. The two big ones are the exterior envelope, which is roof trim siding, and that comes to, the better bid was $400,000. And then the structural improvements are in the vicinity of $120,000. That's the meat and potatoes of this. That's the help I need from you guys. The other stuff is, small potatoes in scale of this, and we feel comfortable. But we had to come to you with a reasonable request. You guys partner for $400,000 and $500,000 a few times a year, and I needed to give you guys something you could bite off. And so that's the number we felt comfortable with, and there's not $1 fat on there. That's what it takes to put this building back and make it look good and represent the Harwich as it should.
So the two items that I thought were low were the stained glass window repair and the clock repair. That just,
Oh.
those.
I wouldn't have guessed those two.
Those I just thought were low considering what you're working with.
Piper's taking a class in stained glass repair,
Yeah, I know that.
so we're gonna have to be on budget with
No
that one.
pressure at all.
There's only one substantial break in the middle left side window, and it's about this big. If we can't fix it for $15,000, we're not gonna send these things back to France, so we'll be able to do something.
Understood. It just,
Yeah.
if you need to remove it and reinstall it, that's
15
kind of
grand.
where my brain is going, like removing it, preserving it, protecting it, reinstalling it. When you take, as you know, when you take anything out of an old building, assets like this can tend to not hold up as well as one would
Yeah.
like. So those are the two places of concern. Because obviously, I think too, the building, those stained glass windows are one of the primary historic assets that you're gonna see on the outside, and that clock tower
Yeah,
as well. So those are the two pieces that I actually thought were
Low.
slightly low on your budget, so,
The stained glass will not be coming out
okay.
to make a repair, period. And then the clock, we had a volunteer come out, and he's maintained clocks for 30 years, and he's gonna donate his time. And so that's mostly painting and fixing things on the exterior, which is very high, but we can get it done.
All right, good to hear. That's all I had, David.
Thank you, Mary. I've got a couple for you. Under the structural improvements.
Yep.
Where are you considering making the improvements?
So, the weak point in timber frames is there's not many metal fasteners, so they don't rust, but there's a lot of wedges and dowels, and for some reason, the wedges don't live as long as the timbers. So one thing, Mr. Ellison came in and recommended, and we also had Ben, I can't pronounce his last name, but he has a PhD from Columbia in timber frame structures. He actually drove up 10 hours to inspect the building, and he said it was one of the finest examples of timber frame from that era he's ever seen. And these were his recommendations: to go through each joint, you remove any of the smaller dowels and woods, and replace it with a new fastener. Okay, so that was his recommendation, and there's a good amount of them. And so the more you do, the tighter the building is, and if you don't do it, the building has a bit of a, which is a natural thing for a timber frame building, and it's actually why they last so much longer than a new building that's tighter than the nail.
So I want to hear in your argument, how do you propose to do that in this contract? Because that's interior, that's not exterior.
It's structural, and so my request to you guys is structural, which is the longevity of the building, and exterior envelope, which is what you see. So my request to you guys is longevity of the building, which is valuable to the community. There's no point in putting all this stuff on the exterior of the building if the building itself doesn't have longevity. So those are the two components I'm hoping to partner with you guys on, if appropriate.
Okay, next question I have is, where's the bell?
So the bell is about this big, and when a different company was going to demolish the building, the pastor gave the bell away. The bell is in a gentleman's garage in Dennis, and he's working on extorting us for money, and so we are negotiating through the pastor to return it, but we will get it back. It was cast by Paul Revere's apprentice, so it's a substantial bell. It probably, I don't know if it'll go back in the belfry, but it will be public viewed somewhere else. It's all in part of this entire thing we're trying to bring back to West Harwich. All this history, all this culture, and just demonstrate it.
Understood. Thank you. Anything else from any of the board
I think
members?
Art has to go.
All right, I'm sorry,
That's all right. I've been dozing
and I
here.
jumped you, my apologies. Go ahead,
Oh,
you've got it.
You're the chair, you jump in anytime you want. First of all, John, I want to thank you for a great presentation, and I also want to thank you for taking in this project and having the fortitude to do it, and the foresight and the energy it's going to take. And obviously, there wasn't too many people you had to jump in ahead of, to jump the line to do the project. Everyone wanted the project done, but everyone was doing one of these things. So I thank you again. That said, just for you, a little bit of my background is in budgets and, and budgets that led to building projects. And I always remember the fear when you put the project together and you had to present the budget. And if you came under $1 under budget, you were a hero. $1 over budget, and you were a goat. And you never wanted to be the goat. So with that said, and then the other thing is, I do have a little experience with antiques, because when I moved here at Cape Cod, we wanted a house to look like we belonged on Cape Cod, or were part of Cape Cod. So what we did, against all advice, we bought an antique house, and it needed a fair amount of work. Luckily, I was retiring at the time, and that was going to be my retirement job. And so I did a lot of the work myself and was able to save a lot of money, thank God. Otherwise, it would have never gotten done, because I spent a lot more than I anticipated. That said, I'm just going over you're looking at your figures here, and I'm just going to have to say it. I think you're low.
Okay.
By how much? I don't know. We're in this crazy, and I have to tell you, you know more about this than I do right now. I'm not coming from any point of expertise other than what I've done myself. But we're in this crazy time of building that the costs are going sky high. We had an application last week, and the contingency was 40–50% of the job. And they said,
Wasn't me.
well, good. But that's the era we're in, and renovating an antique. When you go to pull all that siding off, you don't know what's going to be under that siding. You have a fair assumption, but you really don't know. So, you've included just about everything, and my colleague here, Kathy, she did a great job of pulling the budget apart. I'm not going to pull it apart any more than she did. But I just want to know that you are comfortable with this. And I don't think the town wants you you know, if you run into a snafu, oh, well, let poor John eat it. No, I don't think that's gonna be the attitude. I hope it's not. You know, because, you know, you're doing us a favor really here, to town of Harwich. I don't, you know, I will say it again. I don't see anyone else standing outside there that wants to jump in that chair right now and take over your job. So if you're comfortable with the budget, I'll say, so be it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with the budget. The paint, to paint the building's like $8,500. We'll get it done. You know, we did a building like this, built in the same century, framed the same way, same siding, same clapboards, everything. We'll get it done. We're not gonna let the town down. We'll get it done.
One more question.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Art.
Could you expound a little bit about the sewer pump situation?
Sure.
What you're planning on doing, or where that would be located?
Yes, so we reached out to the water department, and the gentleman who's consulting, and I always forget his name, who's overseeing kind of the design and stuff. And we know that they need a place for a sewer treatment plant. We know we're asking for a substantial amount of money, and so we proactively said, let's work together. We'll donate the land, and we'll pick an appropriate spot. Part of this whole reason we're here is we want to create just an awesome corridor in West Harwich. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't put the sewer treatment plant dead heart in the center of it. So part of our conversations were maybe we could sneak it further back in the parking lot. And they said that's totally reasonable. 99% of it is underground. It's really just a generator and a pump station. And he said we could even design what the building looks like. And maybe I'll bid on building it. But that was part of the process, because we need a pump station in West Harwich. And these are, both lots we've purchased were intended to be that. And we are putting together a design that we want to include the sewer treatment plant, because it's important, pump station. And we want it to fit in with the fabric that we are sewing in West Harwich.
So it would be on this land?
It'd be in the parking lot.
It'd be in the parking lot?
Yes.
And how do you plan on dealing with the current cemetery?
So we reached out to the Cemetery Commission, Robin. She came out and toured the property. And she said, contrary to popular belief, the town does not want to own the cemetery. They'd like to maintain the cemetery. So we'll continue owning the cemetery. I don't know if we have any vacancies, but we will own it and the town will maintain it. And if the town falls short, we're going to have an entire cluster of properties in West Harwich, and we're going to try to keep it to a very high standard, removing some trees, and we'll make it look better than it looks today.
Okay, good.
Okay, anything else from any other member of the board? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Harry, can I have you send me these? The film, maybe the
Yes,
slideshow?
yes,
That'd be great.
absolutely. You guys help me paint, right? Yeah. Aren't you a painter? Thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I just want to give people
Yes,
a moment
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah. I think it's a good move.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. We'll see. Another step.
Okay, we're ready to go.
I guess we're gonna see you,
It's exhausting asking so many questions.
chase through.
Well, you'll sleep soundly.
Yes, I will.
Got all that, got that load off your mind.
All my notes, you know.
I like your notes, you're like scribbling some.
Oh,
little
I know.
thing up in
Well, I'm
the corner.
doing, yeah, extra things.
I'm glad you can read it.
I can.
all right.
Good, how you doing?
I don't want to be rude.
No, I know. Just give him a second to leave.
Folks, can you carry your conversations outside, please, so we can continue Thank you.
Geez, nobody wants to talk to us anymore.
No, we'll talk about history. Okay, going to rescinds. I'm going to rescind the following open balances from the following projects. The first one is 2024 Annual Town Meeting, Article 35, South Harwich Gravestone Conservation Project, funded at $23,000. Vote to rescind $3,500. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion, David.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. The next one is 2024 Annual Town Meeting, Article 25, Beach Automated External Defibrillator, acquisition funding at $39,000. And we're going to vote to rescind $18,502.
And 6 cents,
I didn't get the 6 cents,
but
but,
it's on the munis report. So.
okay, the 6 cents then. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, but it's okay.
Okay. 2024 Annual Town Meeting, Article 34, Senior Memorial Softball Field Fencing Project, funded at $110,000, voted to rescind $54,300, even. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, next, discussion and vote.
Just one more thing about the rescissions.
Go.
There's still a handful of projects that we voted to rescind, and it hasn't been recorded on the munis report yet, such as the Hinkley Pond public access for $70,000, resurfacing of some of the courts for $9,500, and there's some confusion on a couple others. So I think that for the January meeting, we need to, between now and then, try to push the finance department to update these, because we've already sent them the votes, and make sure they get recorded. And if they haven't, and they need additional votes, because it wasn't clear, we need to do that in January, so we can clear up these things.
Okay, would you send me those in an email,
Yeah.
please?
Yep.
And I'll present them to the finance director.
Okay.
John?
My clarification, wasn't the rescission for the public access at Hinckley 75,000?
They spent some money on some
Yeah.
engineering and stuff like that
Oh, okay.
prior to that.
Thank
So
you.
what's left is $70,700.
Okay, thank you.
All set, John.
Yep.
Okay, discussion and vote.
Hold on, Mary's got something.
Mary?
So, just between the items that Kathy just referenced that haven't shown up yet, weren't those rescissions that we did prior to the auditor doing the audit?
Yes.
And yet they still didn't show up?
No,
Yes.
because June minutes weren't approved
Ah,
until we had our fall meeting, because we didn't have
skipped.
yeah,
okay.
we didn't have the July meeting because we said we didn't need it, and then we didn't convene in August because we didn't have quorum, so we didn't come until September to approve.
But even
Those-
if we voted in
those-
June, we should have
Not
communicated that to
until it's
the auditors.
approved. Not until the minutes are approved. That's the way I was instructed by
That's the way
one
we've
of the
always done it.
finance directors told me.
She's right on that one.
I mean,
The only thing I would
I
argue,
mean,
process can
I'll go on
change.
record as saying we
the
should have,
the only thing I
we
would
should
argue
communicate
is
those.
the money should be available now, because it went through the process of closing the books.
Well, that's where your other issue is gonna come in, because,
Or they're gonna carry it over to
or you
27.
potentially lose it, because it didn't show up on the books.
Thank you.
in a timely fashion. So that's, I guess, that's
I
where,
agree.
where my concern would come in.
Unspent monies would stay in the account until you spend them. They don't
I
disappear,
think Mary made this.
you know?
I got you.
Is there some rule against this?
One more
You're gonna have to
rescind.
make yourself available.
No, we're starving.
We have-
We're gonna have that
We
discussion.
have one more rescind.
I'm about to,
We're
I had a
starving.
question about the Hinkley Pond.
I'm about to get there. Okay, hold on. So we're doing C now, discussion and vote. Motion to consider the June 12th, 2025 CPA meeting vote to rescind the 2023 annual town meeting, Article 31, Senior Memorial Field Restroom Project, $150,000.
No. We voted to rescind 150, but 150 wasn't in there. So,
Okay, so I'm missing the rest of that on the screen here.
so it's really $143,740 that we're supposed to rescind.
143,
740.
740.
Right, so we need to change, we need to fix that
How did we find out that it wasn't a full $150,000?
from
Was
the
it,
Munis report. My favorite thing.
but from the Munis report, did we see the debits so that we know that
Oh.
everything was applied correctly?
That's a question.
So that's kind of what I'd want to see.
I think we need to wait on that one.
We can request a detailed report for that account,
We've worked on that, Mary.
and it's a very easy report to pull. So they should be able to show us that
Yeah.
account with the debits that came out of it.
Yeah. It's still, that one's
Because
still a
it should be set up as an article. So like anything I have that's an article-based account shows my article, and then I can see over years what debits have come out of it. So,
Yeah.
like when I bought my tabulators, I can see my tabulator, I can see my town meeting action, I can see how much I paid, see what was
Would you
left.
be willing to come to the finance director's office with me when you're available?
I don't
I'll
think,
make an appointment.
I don't think the finance director needs me to tell them any of this. I think we can,
I
as a
don't want
board,
to say what I want to say in front of the camera.
I think as a board, we can request a
Okay.
detailed report on the articles that we just rescinded, so that we can see what the debits and the credits were, and that's all we need to ask for,
We did that.
Okay, all right,
and I think that's all we need.
okay,
We'll just put this one on hold.
all right. It's on hold. Old business, update, social media, Facebook.
Same as last week. Working on some folks. No new update.
Okay, website applications.
Okay, the only thing to discuss is, you told me that there are hard copies that came in.
Yes.
Are they date stamped?
I don't know the answer to that question, John. It was in one envelope from the town, from administration.
So just,
I don't know if they did.
one point is that the instructions for submitting additional information includes a requirement that hard copies be submitted to town hall. So I suspect that those are things that we got electronically. I will take them and match them against what we've gotten. And the only other question is, we got one thing via email from Jan yesterday or a couple. Today.
Yeah.
And since that's after December 1, I think it goes in the minutes, but does not get attached to the application. Right? Because deadline for any additional information was December 1.
Wait a minute, the thing I sent today is
That was the-
this,
Yeah.
and it's a letter of support.
Yeah, but, okay, you tell me
No,
whether
now
I should.
it's interesting because you define it a little bit differently
Yeah.
than we are looking at it.
Okay,
Letters of support aren't part of the application.
are not. Is
They
that what you?
roll in after the fact.
Why? They're supplemental
All right,
information.
all right.
Right?
Is it though?
Why is it not supplemental information?
Why is it?
Because it supplements the application. It adds credence to the application. It's not just, random.
It's an opinion.
but it's still supplemental.
I don't see it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, but,
Well,
John?
okay, I have a choice to make. I either don't or do attach that letter to the end of the HP one. Barring any definitive instruction from this committee, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay,
If the committee instructs me to do it, I'll do it.
so,
So.
pleasure of the board.
But before you ask the question, please,
Sure.
there might be other things in that packet that came in after December 1, so can we just include those in the question you're asking the board? Anything after December 1, does it get attached directly to the applications? That's the question.
Okay, so the question's there. What's the pleasure of the board?
So I will just say, Historic met with John Kerry before December 1, but I don't think you got the letter until today. So, I mean, we met the week before, we met the 12th or 13th, whatever it was. And it's whatever the pleasure of the board
But
is.
is that,
As far
that's
as I'm
another
concerned,
letter?
it's-
That's not that one?
No, this is a personal letter.
Right.
Hold on, turn the page, from 3 people.
And from two, it's from Sally and Laura Brown, it looks like.
Well,
Yeah, West Harwich.
oh, sorry, sweetie, yeah, 2. But it's nothing from, I don't have any documentation.
It's probably in your
From
inbox then,
you all.
because I've been out this week and I got an email from Lisa, who's our historic assistant, and I gave her the okay to sign the letter this week, it was either yesterday or today. So,
Okay, so,
but like I said, I'll defer to whatever you guys think, doesn't.
pleasure of the board.
December.
I don't think we have an opinion.
Well, then I'm gonna do what I think. Unless you guys tell me something else, I'm just gonna do what I think, which is we set a deadline for December 1, and I'm gonna just treat things that way.
We've set other deadlines and we haven't followed that, which
Okay,
is the
so
problem with precedent, so.
Tell me not
Now
to
she's
do
gonna-
it then.
now she's coming after me.
I'm just saying, if we're not gonna do it across the board,
John, you know something, you're putting the effort into it, and the board doesn't have an opinion on it, take care of it.
They'll be matter of public record because they'll be attached to the minutes, so.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anything else from,
oh, the signage.
the sign?
No, we're following that principle.
What?
What's that?
Is that the fire station thing? We don't, you already, you sent it to all of us, we
But
don't need
that's
to
a
discuss
report.
it.
That's-
Right, but
Yours was
since-
the report.
since-
That's a
My
report.
question is, since we aren't doing a separate section on the website
Right,
for reports, we did have it on the other website. So now, the only way these would get recorded is if they become part of these minutes. And that's what I'm going to do, if everybody's kosher with
Yeah,
it.
we are.
go ahead.
There
we
we
are.
go.
Done.
That's good.
okay,
Sign.
sign as promised. Ta-da!
Oh, look at this.
That's nice.
Oh, my goodness.
It's very nice,
Oh, I like that.
very nice.
Oh, meets approval.
That is very lovely.
Okay, so this is sample sign for a lot of our open space projects, anything that's been funded with CPA funds. We'd be able to put this up without, because they're owned, most of them are owned by HCT, we wouldn't have to deal with any particular commission or anything like that. And so that would be a start for us getting some acknowledgement out there and permanently posted. And then we could move on to the next group, which would be probably historic. I talked to somebody today from South Harwich Meeting House who, more than, they really want to put up a sign. They just, just looking for guidance. So, anyway, if this is okay with everybody, I will double check with Mike Locke at HCT about which places we would put it, and if this is the appropriate size, and, because they can make it in different sizes.
Can you
and
guys,
we'll move
can
forward.
you all see this?
Oh, yeah, I can see it fine. It's great. I can see it from here.
It's much bigger than I anticipated.
Yeah, I know.
It is a little bigger than I
really nice.
anticipated too, but,
You can
It's
see
very
it from outer space.
eye-catching.
I mean, you can see it from outer space.
oh, well,
Not quite.
it is
No,
Telecom.
it's a very nice,
pretty
attractive
good.
sign.
It's appropriate for the conservation areas, for sure.
Right.
It blends in. This is the same sign that they use for, no dogs or, something like that.
You don't
So-
think we need blaze orange in there to
No,
highlight anything?
no, I don't, no. So if that's okay with you guys, then I'll just move forward with, moving on to the next step with this, and then we'll deal with the next group.
Sounds good.
All right, do we have a cost out on that?
This was probably about $55, something like that.
That's not bad.
This is gonna last a while.
Yeah, it is.
So, how many signs, how many does, you gonna need for conservation?
I'd probably order like 10, maybe. I don't think we need 10, but we could have some extras for projects down the road.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we don't wanna, maybe we can get a discount.
Buy in bulk.
I'm just saying, so this is a start.
Well done.
Okay.
Okay, do we need a motion for this, or?
P1, I have a question.
I suppose we need a motion if we're gonna spend additional funding out of admin funds.
Well, right now, in one of the categories of admin funds, we're negative 9,000, so let's get that straightened out first.
Yeah, we got other accounts,
I
so.
understand that. I don't know how, never mind. Okay, anything from anybody else?
Next meeting is when?
Next meeting?
January,
I don't have it.
I do, I have it.
Second
15th,
Tuesday?
maybe? Is it? No.
We're due, our
Soon
meeting's
as
on
that.
Thursday.
Then is it the 8th? The 8th is the second
Oh.
Thursday, right?
Why don't I just look at the
No,
calendar?
the
The
first is
first
a
is a-
Friday.
Would be the 8th.
First is Thursday.
That sounds right.
Oh, it is Thursday.
First is Thursday.
yeah, because
So
New
then
Year's
it's-
Day is the
Oh, it's the
Thursday.
8th, yeah.
That would have been the fastest thing in the world, open my calendar.
Okay, so the meeting's the
The
8th.
first Thursday is the 8th.
Yes,
Be the 8th.
The
second
second
Thursday
Thursday is the 8th.
is the 8th.
Okay, right around the corner.
And is everybody available, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. We're
I
talking the
shouldn't
8th,
have
right?
said yay or nay. Yes or no? It's probably clearer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hope so.
January
Hope so.
8th.
I don't know, actually. What?
26, wow.
We good?
What's the matter?
I had something, but it's gone.
That's all right. Just reach out, grab it, and come back. All right, so we're figuring January 8th, Frank's meeting.
Okay,
Next meeting.
All right, and we'll start discussions and possible votes. That's what the agenda will say. Doesn't mean we have to, but
Is there
Just
an
in case.
expectation that we'll get numbers from the finance? Director
I'm
by then?
hoping, yes. I'm an optimist, yes.
you know, when
I'm hoping we have them by
Finish
the end of next week.
go into this,
Like I said, I'm an optimist.
this is.
Okay,
when
is
you-
there anything from anybody else? Anybody want anything on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So to do
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
You don't get
Aye.
this.
Good night, folks.
Mary, you seconded,
if you
who
wanna hook
first
up
did?
to
So
the-
we're not gonna see